I never truly understood what betrayal meant until that Thursday evening. Outside my window, the rain fell in rhythmic patterns, a soothing backdrop as I sifted through contracts at my desk. My wife, Clara, was in the next room, her soft humming filling the house as she folded laundry. It was the kind of ordinary night you don't think twice about, the kind of night that makes betrayal feel impossible. When my phone buzzed, I almost ignored it. It was late, and the name on the screen, Victor, my best friend since university, gave no indication of urgency. Still, I answered, expecting casual banter about our weekend plans. "Maddo," Victor said, his voice tight with unease. "You need to listen to me carefully." The seriousness in his tone cut through my fatigue. I straightened up, alert. "What's wrong?" "It's Clara," he said, hesitating as if searching for the right words. "She's at the Blackbird Hotel right now. With someone." My pulse quickened, confusion and disbelief colliding in my mind. "What are you talking about?" "She's there," he said, his voice heavy with regret, "with Elias. Your brother." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to tilt, my vision narrowing as the weight of his words settled on me. My wife, my brother, together. "I didn't want to believe it," Victor continued, "but I saw them. I'm at the hotel now, room 304. I don't remember ending the call. All I remember is grabbing my keys and stepping into the rain. The world blurred as I drove toward a truth I didn't want to face. Clara and I were the couple everyone envied, or so it seemed. She was vibrant and charming, the kind of woman who could make anyone feel at ease. I was a driven financial analyst on the fast track to partnership at a prestigious Zurich firm. Together, we hosted elegant dinner parties in our modern home, vacationed in the Greek Isles, and planned a future that felt limitless. Elias, my younger brother, was a regular presence in our lives. He was the black sheep of the family, drifting between jobs and relationships, but I never judged him for it. Clara adored him, often inviting him over for meals or encouraging him to join us on outings. "Elias needs someone stable in his life," she'd say with a warm smile. "He's lucky to have you." Looking back, her affection for him was always a little too familiar, but I was too trusting to see it for what it was. Our life seemed perfect on the surface, but perfection is a fragile thing, easily shattered by the weight of hidden truths. The first signs of trouble came like whispers, faint and easy to dismiss. Clara began spending more time away from home, claiming work events and errands that seemed to grow increasingly frequent. "The gallery needs me late tonight," she'd say, her tone breezy. Or, "Elias needed some help with a project." "Don't wait up." I wanted to believe her. After all, ours was a marriage built on trust, or so I thought. But trust can blind you to the obvious. One evening, Clara came home wearing a perfume I didn't recognize. It was floral, distinct, and unlike the subtle scents she usually favored. "New perfume?" I asked casually. "Oh, yes," she replied, her tone just a little too cheerful. "A gift from a co-worker. Testing it out. It was a small thing, but it stuck with me." Then came the cufflinks. I found them under the sofa one afternoon while cleaning, a sleek, expensive pair I didn't recognize. When I showed them to Clara, she laughed. "Must be Elias's. She said he had been at our house the other night." I remembered. I nodded at Clara's explanation, but something didn't sit right. The next time I saw Elias, he was wearing those same cufflinks. Doubt began to creep in, uninvited and unwelcome. But doubt, once planted, has a way of growing into something you can't ignore. When Victor called that Thursday night, it felt like confirmation of something I had been too afraid to admit. The drive to the Blackbird Hotel was a blur of rain-slicked streets and racing thoughts. By the time I arrived, Victor was waiting in the lobby, his expression grim. He didn't need to say a word. The guilt in his eyes said it all. "Room 304, he muttered, placing a hand on my shoulder. My heart pounded as I ascended the stairs, each step heavier than the last. Outside the door, I hesitated. My hand hovered over the handle, trembling with the weight of what I was about to face. When I finally pushed the door open, the sight before me hit like a punch to the gut. Clara and Elias were on the bed, their faces frozen in matching expressions of shock and horror. The disheveled sheets and remnants of wine glasses on the nightstand betrayed the intimacy they'd shared. "Maddo," Clara gasped, scrambling to cover herself. "This isn't what it looks like." "Save it," I said, my voice ice cold. Elias, ever the smooth talker, tried to intervene. "Maddo, man, let me explain." His words only fueled my rage. I turned to him, my fists clenched at my sides. "Explain?" I demanded, my voice rising. "You're my brother, my family, and this is how you repay me." The room fell into a thick, suffocating silence. Their guilt was palpable, hanging in the air like a heavy fog. For the first time, I saw them for what they truly were. Two selfish people who had destroyed everything I held dear. "Get dressed," I said, my voice trembling with barely controlled fury. "Both of you, we're going home. Now." The drive home from the Blackbird Hotel was stifling. Silence filled the car, broken only by the sound of rain lashing against the windows, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Clara sat in the passenger seat, her hands trembling in her lap. Elias was in the back, his expression shifting between defiance and shame. When we arrived, I opened the door and gestured for them to follow. They hesitated, but one look at my face made them comply. They shuffled into the living room like guilty schoolchildren. "Sit," I barked, my voice echoing in the space. They obeyed. Clara opened her mouth to speak, but I silenced her with a sharp glare. "Don't," I said. "Not yet." I paced the room, my thoughts a whirlwind of anger, pain, and betrayal. Finally, I stopped and turned to Elias, my younger brother, the man I had trusted implicitly. "It wasn't like that," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It just happened." "Don't insult me," I snapped, cutting her off. The weight of their betrayal settled over me, suffocating and inescapable. The life I had trusted, the love I had believed in, was shattered beyond repair. I snapped. "You didn't trip and fall into bed with him, Clara. You made a choice." Over and over again, Elias stood then, trying to play the peacemaker. "Maddo, we didn't mean to hurt you." Before he could finish, my fist lashed out, connecting with his jaw. The sound of bone meeting bone echoed through the room as he stumbled back, clutching his face. "That," I said, my voice low and dangerous, "is for taking what isn't yours. Get out, both of you. Now." "How long?" I demanded. He flinched, avoiding my gaze. "Maddo, it's not what you think." "How long?" I roared, my voice cracking with fury. 6 months, he muttered, his voice barely audible. 6 months. Half a year of lies, deceit, and betrayal. My fists clenched, nails digging into my palms. "And you," I said, turning to Clara. Her sobs were silent, tears streaming down her face. "Was this your plan all along? To destroy everything we built? To make a fool of me?"
Clara and Elias scrambled to their feet, their protests falling on deaf ears. They left, the door slamming shut behind them. The weight of their betrayal crashed down on me. I sank into the couch, my head in my hands, wondering how I had been so blind. The days that followed were a blur of anger and despair. Clara moved in with a friend, leaving behind a house that now felt unbearably empty. Elias, nursing his bruised jaw and fragile pride, sought refuge with our parents. My father called me soon after, his voice measured but firm. "Maddo, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," I said flatly. "Elias made a mistake," he continued, "but he's your brother. You can't let this destroy your relationship." "He destroyed it, not me," I replied, my tone ice cold. "And if you let him or Clara into your house, you'll lose me too." The line went silent. My father had always been the family mediator, the one who believed in forgiveness above all else. But even he couldn't argue with the ultimatum I'd laid out. Meanwhile, Clara attempted to reconcile. She sent texts and emails filled with apologies and pleas for another chance. Each one I read felt like salt in a wound. "Please, Maddo," one message read. "I know I hurt you, but I can't imagine my life without you. Let's fix this. I'll do anything." I never responded. At work, I threw myself into my projects, using the distraction to drown out the pain. My colleagues noticed the change, whispering behind my back, but never daring to ask. The betrayal had left its mark, but I refused to let it define me. Months later, I found myself standing on a hill overlooking Vienna. The city lights sparkled like 1,000 tiny stars. The air was crisp, the kind that clears your mind and sharpens your focus. Losing Clara and Elias had been a devastating blow, but in the end, it forced me to confront a truth. Some people don't belong in your life, no matter how much you love them. I thought about the man I had been before the betrayal. Naive, trusting, too willing to ignore the cracks in the facade. That man was gone. In his place stood someone stronger, someone who had learned the hard way that resilience comes from the ashes of destruction. As the wind rustled through the trees, I whispered into the night, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself." Life has a way of moving forward, even when it feels like it's standing still. Clara eventually stopped trying to contact me, and Elias faded into the background, too ashamed to face me. My father tried once more to mend the rift, but I held firm. Trust, once broken, cannot be easily repaired. In time, I began to rebuild. I moved into a new apartment, started traveling again, and even took up painting, a hobby I hadn't touched since university. Each stroke of the brush felt like a step toward healing, a way to reclaim the pieces of myself that Clara and Elias had tried to take. One day, while browsing a bookstore, I met someone. Her name was Anna, and she was flipping through a collection of poetry. We struck up a conversation, and for the first time in months, I felt a spark of something new. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was hope. To those hearing this story, let it serve as a reminder. Betrayal may break you, but it doesn't have to define you. The road to healing is long and painful, but it leads to something better. Thank you for being a part of this story with me. If it moved you, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Cheating Expose. Many of you who enjoy these stories aren't subscribed yet. By subscribing, you're not just following a channel, you're becoming part of a community that values deep, meaningful storytelling. Let's continue exploring these heartfelt journeys together. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next story.